Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Scene to Screen podcast. I'm AJ, and this is my review of Alex Garland's new film, Annihilation. So Garland's last film was the low-key modern classic sci-fi drama Ex Machina, a film that I enjoyed and respected a lot, and one that cemented Garland not just as an excellent writer, but as an all-round talent of storytelling. Ex Machina was a terse, tense, and tightly woven story that dealt with distinctly humanist themes, and from the back of that I was excited to see where Garland would go next with this loose adaptation of Jeff Vandermeer's acclaimed novel. One thing I was worried about though was that its non-theatrical release on Netflix would harm the film's impact, and overall my fears were justified. Annihilation is often an astoundingly beautiful film, shot with expertise and with some of the best background CGI I've seen in a while. Watching it on my screen at home, I knew that I was missing something. Nonetheless, I feel that the other faults in the film would have been unavoidable regardless of the screen I was watching it on. First things first though, what worked? Well, for a start, Garland's direction is undeniably strong in this film. His interesting shot choices and narrative structure fit the hazy feel of the film perfectly, choosing to shoot scenes and edit them together in ways that many other directors wouldn't even consider. Of course, credit for some of this also goes to cinematographer Rob Hardy, who also worked on Ex Machina. The two films are shot in a similar style, but it's one that seems to work both in the claustrophobic setting of Ex Machina and the large grand setting of Annihilation. The pacing too worked for me, and there are only a few lulls in the proceedings. However, I feel that Garland's direction is much better than his screenwriting this time around. His writing in Ex Machina felt a lot more natural and concise, but even without comparing the two films, Annihilation has some moments, quite a few moments, of clunky, ham-fisted dialogue and exposition, and it has a number of characters that are just so thinly written that they may as well just not exist. Of these characters, we have Natalie Portman as Leigh, and she's the only character with any real development. Portman fills the role decently, but she didn't stand out as much as I hoped she would. Her performance in Black Swan is one that I really enjoyed, and I hoped it would be as detailed as that one for Annihilation. Nonetheless, Leigh is an interestingly and heavily flawed protagonist, and she's a great example of an anti-hero who doesn't become too hateable. Jennifer Jason Leigh was the standout role for me. She did a lot with a very little, giving her rather vague character the sense of history and personality that the script wasn't able to. Even when she was saddled with an exposition dump, she handled it perfectly, giving the clunky lines the gravitas of a professional talking about their field of expertise. It kind of reminded me of this scene in David Lynch's Dune, where Max von Sydow explains how the exosuits work. Very few actors are capable of making dialogue like this work, so I'd say that that's a testament to Leigh's abilities. Oscar Isaac is welcome in pretty much any film, and the amount of development he gets in the film works well enough for his character. The way that he links into Lena's story is tastefully done, and the use of flashbacks to shed light on his own part of the story is one of the most impactful and creative elements of the film. The other characters weren't as naturally developed, and were sadly explained rather than given action to explain themselves. There was a particular scene earlier on that really highlighted why show don't tell works best in film. Each character is boiled down to a simple why they're on this mission statement, and it says very little about the characters themselves. It turns them into archetypes without any real meat to them. The performances are fine, it's just that there isn't enough material for the actors to do much with. One of the characters gets a great exit from the film, but without any real background for a character, it doesn't feel earned. It also features Benedict Wong in a mostly pointless and entirely plot-serving role. He's an actor I really want to see in roles that are more worth his talent. Anyway, in many ways, I feel like Annihilation is two films working against each other. One is a middling sci-fi horror, and the other is a much deeper film concerned with exploring themes similar to some of those in Ex Machina. It got me thinking on Tarkovsky's Stalker. I kind of wish that Annihilation was more like Stalker, although it also got me thinking that I kind of wish Stalker was a bit more like Annihilation. Essentially, I think this film could have benefited from a less conventional structure. The ending sequence fulfilled this side of it, but it felt almost too unique compared to the rest of the film. Likewise, a certain scene with a meadow of trees was fantastically executed, but the lead up to it kind of came out of nowhere, and again, it felt very different to what came before it, and without strong characterization, it mostly just felt hollow. It ended up feeling like in these scenes, the film was trying to show what it truly was, or at least what it was truly trying to be, but it didn't get enough chances to do this. Strangely, it kind of ended up feeling like a much better version of the Cloverfield paradox, which I also reviewed fairly recently. What with its concerns with weird events and its host of mostly non-characters. I was hoping Annihilation would be much more akin to a film like Arrival, with which I do feel it shares some similarities, but not enough to elevate it to the same level, nowhere near. Nonetheless, the the scenes that were good were often really good. I'm a fan of weird sci-fi mayhem, bizarre concepts and messed up body horror, and Annihilation delivered those elements to a level that definitely satisfied me. There's a great moment in a house involving a certain creature that managed to sufficiently freak me out, and there's a wonderful moment in an abandoned swimming pool that offered one of the greatest and weirdest of the CGI creations found in the film. When the film is focusing on the fauna and flora of the Shimmer, this is where it really succeeds and begins to show its real beauty. The CGI isn't consistently great or even good sometimes. There are a number of moments where it felt like they prioritized certain elements over others in the visual effects budget, but considering the scope of the project and the overall budget, I wasn't too bothered by that, as the moments that really worked overshadowed those that didn't tenfold. I'm surprised that this is rated a 15 in the UK though. There are a couple of moments where I thought to myself, right, this is definitely an 18 now, but apparently not. So be advised when considering showing this to a younger audience. Personally, I find the rating to be a little bit ridiculous, but anyone who's, used to a bit of gore, it's not going to be an issue. In fact, if you like it, then there are a couple of really good moments and some really weird creative moments. Anyway, so one other element I wasn't so fond of was the film's framing device. Although necessary to the overall plot, I feel that it was just too heavy on the side of cliche to really benefit the film all that much. Sadly, for me, there was just too much conventional filmmaking and occasional cliche for me to truly embrace and love this film. It was often middling, but with a number of great scenes and well-executed themes that allowed it to hold my interest. It's much less of a mess than a film like The Cloverfield Paradox, but as much as it strives to be as intelligent as a film like Arrival or even Ex Machina before it, it's just held back by too many B-movie tropes to take its place among those films. Still though, I enjoyed it, and for all of its faults, it's by no means a bad film, and I'm truly gutted that I wasn't able to see it in the cinema. I'm feeling a decent to strong 7 on this one personally. So that's the end of this episode. What did you think of the film? Hit us up on Twitter or Facebook and let us know. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. We're on many different platforms by now. Maybe even drop us a review on iTunes if you feel like it. And on that note, I'll say bye from me, and we hope to catch you in the next episode.